the expectations way too high? Where do we go from here?
The only question, how long can it last?
In 1974, with long gas lines and inflation at 11.3% in the United States, the global recession deepened. In April of that year, Hank Aaron hit his 715th home run to surpass Babe Ruth on the all-time home run list. And in the fall, the Oakland A's won their third consecutive World Series. But the biggest news of the year was the resignation of President Richard Nixon due to the Watergate scandal.
To come here for this occasion said it was indeed one of the saddest incidents that he's ever seen. And there's the president waving goodbye, and you hear the applause.
During the summer of 1974, a group of 15 to 19-year-olds began what was the genesis of a softball team that would remain together for 20 years. These teenagers formed a two-team league called the WRSL, or the Wagga Road Softball League. The teams were called the Ugak Bay Uggaruggers, managed by Rich Ambrose, and Reether Lickers, managed by Tony Miniacci. Ugak Bay was led by a formidable middle of the order with home run Joe Scarmazzo and Brian Nolan providing righty power, and Chip Dinelli doing considerable damage from the left side. Steve Neuver and Rich Ambrose provided a pesky 1-2 top of the order. Reether Lickers was a cocky and arrogant group led by Tony Hondo Miniacci and his younger brother Ed, or Big Lefty as he was most commonly called. The long ball was supplied by the Bash brothers, Gary Go For It Garner and Big John Hock. Ed Milbrook and Chris McGellis helped form a deep and steady lineup. The two teams faced off against each other 11 times, with Ugak Bay winning 8 of the contests. At season's end, in what became known as the Wag Brag, Lickers manager Tony Miniacci challenged Ugak Bay manager Rich Ambrose in a winner-take-all 2 out of 3 series, which Ambrose immediately accepted. The team split the first 2 games, which set up the showdown. Reether Lickers scored early in the deciding game and led 6-0 going into the bottom of the 9th inning. Ugak Bay began a rally and had the bases loaded with no outs when Joe Scarmazzo hit what looked to be a bases-clearing triple. But Tony Miniacci made an outstanding catch and fired into the infield to begin a game-ending triple play. Losing that 2 out of 3 showdown to Reether Lickers still sticks with me today. We outclassed them 8 out of 11 games, and then to lose 2 out of 3 and then not score any runs in the deciding game. Well, at the time, it was well known, or at least rumored very heavily, that Tony Miniacci owed a significant amount of money to gamblers. And these games were set up, and we hit into that controversial triple play at the end. And there was some evidence that possibly 2 to 3 of my players took a dive or are on the take. It was never completely proven, but I mean, do the math. And again, today, that loss sticks with me. With the gambling rumors surrounding Miniacci and others, the league quickly disbanded. However, players from both teams decided to form one unit to compete the following year. But questions remained. What would the team be called? Where and who would they play? And finally, who would lead them? 4 contenders emerged for the managerial position, and these 4 men would be integral in the growth and success of the team for nearly 2 decades. In 1975, Muhammad Ali defeated Joe Frazier in the Thrilla in Manila to retain his heavyweight championship title. In baseball, the Cincinnati Reds defeated the Boston Red Sox in 7 games to win the World Series. Bill Gates and Paul Allen founded a company called Microsoft, and the Vietnam War ends with the fall of Saigon. And the young men from Hawthorne, New Jersey, formed a softball team called Satan's Devils and named Steve Nuver as the very first manager.
In the early 1970s, Elton John had a tremendous hit called Rocket Man. A lot of people don't realize this, but that song was actually written about Steve Nuver. Elton had to change the lyrics to what they are today because the Golf Brook League did not allow players to make money on hits, rock hits. And Steve, already a wealthy man in his own right, by playing ball, he asked Elton John just to rewrite it and give somebody else a chance. That's the kind of man Steve Nuver is.
Since the team wasn't part of a league, they barnstormed and played other clubs throughout the state. Their most memorable games were played against the Prospect Park boys in the hayfields and their clashes with the Men of Constant Sorrow from North Bergen. With the team standing with a 7-11 one-loss record, Steve Nuver stepped down and Rich Ambrose temporarily took control for 4 games as the committee voted on a new manager. It was decided Chip Dinelli would be the new skipper. Chip, an animated and fiery player, took over for the final 2 games and won both. Overall, Satan's Devils finished 11-13. While his initial taste at managing didn't go well, Nuver excelled at the plate and led the team in batting by hitting .519. Dinelli and Tony Miniacci both hit a crisp .500, while the trio of Ambrose, Millbrook, and Mark Van Rye hit over .400. With the first season under their belts, Dinelli vowed the team would be much better in 1976.
Chip Dinelli? Yeah, Arthur Dinelli, one of the greatest players ever to play the game. Rich Ambrose told me that he got the name Chip because he used to eat wood chips when he was younger. Don't know if that's true, but the name stuck. Truly, one of the finest ever to play the game. Enthusiasm knew no bounds. And a hell of a nice guy, too.
"1976 saw the United States celebrate their 200th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Jimmy Carter defeated incumbent President Gerald Ford to become the first candidate from the Deep South to win since the Civil War. The Cincinnati Reds defeated the New York Yankees to win their 2nd consecutive World Series, and the Satan's Devils softball team changed their name and were now called Brothers Pizza. Brothers Pizza manager Chip Dinelli, with the help of other teammates, put together an aggressive travel schedule. True to his high-intensity style, Chip ignored the critics and managed the team the only way he knew how. He did it his way.
Chip Dinelli always was known for doing things his way, the way he wanted. I remember when he was playing with the Wizards, we were in Puerto Rico on our 1980 World Tour, and we were on a bridge, and there was a lot of traffic on that bridge, and Chip noticed that the traffic coming the other way, the lanes were fairly open, so he went up the bridge the wrong way. Some of us were fairly terrified, but not Chip. He saw the opening and he took it. And the police pulled us over. And it was just a funny day. But and somebody tried to follow Chip and do the same thing, and they were in an accident. The police tended to them, and we just kept going. And that's what life is like with Chip.
Brothers Pizza had a very successful barnstorming campaign as they finished with a 19-6 one-loss record. Several players had big years, including Chip Dinelli winning his first Most Valuable Player award. Ed Miniacci, Big Lefty, won the Gold Glove for fielding excellence. Rich Meyer was named Rookie of the Year for the team's most outstanding first-year player. Mark Van Rye was named Comeback Player of the Year for a great bounce-back season. And Bill Tudor Carfello won the Cy Young Award as the team's top pitcher.
Gidry? He idolized Carfello. He idolized Billy. He'd be over, I would say, every other game that Billy was pitching. I'd see him back in the woods hiding. I'd bring him a couple of beers. Ronnie was a good guy, but without Billy Carfello, he probably would have been pitching Double-A for years. Billy taught him so many ways to hold the ball and throw the ball. It was amazing. Tudor Carfello was, it was just like watching a miracle on the mound every week, year in, week in, week out. It was amazing.
In Memphis, Tennessee, thousands of people lined the route for the city's final tribute to Elvis Presley. At the age of 42, Elvis died in his home in Memphis on August 16th. 1977 saw the New York Yankees win the World Series for the first time since 1962 by defeating the Los Angeles Dodgers. And the movie Saturday Night Fever was released, starring John Travolta, which inspired many to dance, including this softball player. Brothers Pizza decided to play a more challenging schedule in 1977 by taking on some of the top teams in the area. While their 13-12 record wasn't as flashy as the prior year, it prepared the team to take the next step. Meanwhile, Tony Miniacci excelled at the plate and in the field as he took home both the MVP and Gold Glove. Gary Garner won Rookie of the Year by leading the team in home runs and slugging percentage. Pitcher Dave Feeney captured the Cy Young Award by sporting a spotless 5-0 record. And former Ugac Bay manager Rich Ambrose won the Comeback Player of the Year award. And I'm here with Michelle DeBellis and Justin Berardi. And I would like them to tell us, why are you here today? Michelle?
Well, I'm here today because I am the president of the American Softball Historical Society. So I have a vested interest in talking about, the history of the softball teams, what really went on back in the day, and, just keeping that memory alive.
And you, Justin?
And I also sit on the board with Michelle, alongside Michelle, and I also have a vested interest in the history of softball and the procuring different stories and timelines from back in the day. Yes.
No, that's very admirable, because there were a lot of great players, especially in the 70s and 80s, that don't get the due respect. So how did you come about to form this organization?
Well, I think we both felt that as time went on and we aren't able to see these games anymore, we aren't able to experience what that was like, see these great players do what they did so well, that,
You know,
I know
it's very
it's emotional. It's very emotional.
Emotional.
Because I look at the two of you.
Right.
Obviously, you're not old enough to have seen any of
Yeah,
these players
no, and we
play.
missed out on the glory days. So, it's really about preserving that history, telling those stories, and we really want to, share that with the world once again.
And now I get the impression that your parents may have seen these
Oh yeah,
players
absolutely.
play.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is. It's a sensitive topic for the both of us because we were young enough but not old enough to really value. Most kids at our age, they were out playing games on Saturday. But why would I want to do that when I could sit home and I can watch and learn and watch those highlights? Yeah, those were the days, really.
January 1978, the Dallas Cowboys defeated the Denver Broncos to win Super Bowl XII. The New York Yankees defeated the Los Angeles Dodgers to win back-to-back World Series. And Superman the movie was released with Christopher Reeves playing the Man of Steel. The Brothers Pizza softball team was looking to do some super things themselves. However, they stumbled around to produce a subpar 8-12 record. And rumors surfaced manager Chip Dinelli was on the hot seat. Chip didn't let the managerial pressure bother him as he won the Triple Crown, leading the team in batting, homers, and RBIs. But when the votes were cast, Chip surprisingly tied Tony Miniacci for MVP honors, which led to the speculation Chip's job security played a part in the voting. Miniacci once again took home the Gold Glove for his fielding excellence. Also, in another shocker, Bill Carafello won the Cy Young despite getting hammered most of the year. Judy O'Sullivan, Miniacci's mistress, led the team in wins, ERA, and innings pitched, but nonetheless was snubbed for the award. This snub emboldened the women's movement at the time and felt Carafello winning the award was sexist. Mark Van Rye went on to take the Comeback Player of the Year award, and Steve Buis was named Rookie of the Year, but would make bigger headlines in the coming years in a scandal that would rock the sport.
Steve Buis, one of the most heralded players in the history of the Golfer Brook League. He not only was he one of the greatest catchers of our time, he's one of the best athletes and one of the most popular players. He took his ability, his black belt abilities, his personality, his good looks, his charm, and he parlayed it into his own brand, the Buis brand. Any city we visited, any stadium we played in, women would be throwing themselves at him, and he would just sign pictures all the time. Sometimes it would be him in a karate outfit, sometimes it'd be him in the baseball outfit, sometimes it'd be a combination. He had a following of hundreds of thousands. And one of the best things for me was when he was catching and I was pitching. We went into an otherworldly type of arrangement.
In 1979, following the return of Ayatollah Khomeini, Iran became an Islamic republic, and 63 Americans were taken hostage in the American embassy in Tehran. In the United Kingdom, Margaret Thatcher becomes the first woman to be elected prime minister. And in baseball, the Pittsburgh Pirates defeat the Baltimore Orioles to win the World Series. And in 1979 turned out to be a watershed year for Brothers Pizza, as they became charter members of the newly formed Hawthorne Men's Softball League. However, before the start of the league, they once again changed their name and became the Mad Pirates. But a printing error caused the letter S to be omitted, and thus the uniforms read Mad Pirate, an inauspicious start to a new league, to say the least. Now, I go back, you were a multiple MVP winner, for the team throughout your years. And I remember specifically, we had a real good team, 1984, we made the playoffs, and you were the team MVP. And at that point, Timmy Skyway was coming off an MVP season, but you just put it all together that year. And I remember you hit 600. And I understand that this was probably one of the reasons why you were able to hit 600.
Well, no doubt about that, Rich, because, hold on, let me put my wine bottle away. Again, being a player manager is very, very difficult. And, of course, so is being out till 2 o'clock in the morning when you have a 9 o'clock game. So I'd wake up on a Sunday morning and, be a little foggy and stuff. So I'd rinse off in the shower. Then I'd take a couple hits of weed, and that would level me off. And I got my uniform on and went down to the field.
It's a shame with that type of regiment, you never made the cover of a Wheaties box. It really, really disappoints me.
Yeah, I always thought about that, but I spoke to them a number of times, and I had a few demands, and they couldn't meet them. One was, you give me $1 a box, or 50 cents a box, whatever it was, and you spell Wheaties, Weedies, and they refused. I would have thought that would have made sales skyrocket.
I mean, between
and they wouldn't do it.
Between this and that, let's face it. To me, it was a natural.
Wheaties, yeah.
After the poor season, the Mad Pirates Softball Action Committee, or SAC as they were commonly known, were undecided whether Chip Dinelli should be the one to lead the team on this new and important league venture. After some intense discussion, by a vote of 4-3, Dinelli was retained. The Mad Pirates had a playoff year and were once again led by the offensive firepower of Dinelli and Miniacci. Gary Garner and Steve Neuver provided solid contributions by hitting .462 and .440 respectively, while Bill Carafello pitched well and threw an impressive 10-0 shutout against muscular Hook Supply at WAG 1. The Mad Pirates were matched up against Hook Supply in the one-game first-round playoffs. Manager Chip Dinelli decided to pitch Carl Silvestri instead of Carafello. It was an odd choice, considering Silvestri pitched just 3 innings all year going into the game, and it showed. The Mad Pirates were blasted 17-5, and the hot seat for Dinelli became scorching, and SAC made the decision to replace Chip as manager of the team. Now, fast forward to the playoffs, and the Mad Pirates drew Hook Supply on the same WAG 1 field. And you made the decision to pitch Carl Silvestri for that game, someone who had pitched a total of 3 innings going into that game. And yet, if I believe, Hook Supply hammered the Mad Pirates 17-6. What was your reasoning to not pitch Tudor Carfello?
Well, because I figured they just saw him, and they'd probably adjust to the shit you threw up to the plate, because he didn't have a fastball. And I'm like, you know what? They haven't seen Carl. They don't know what he throws. I'll pitch him.
Well, when Silvestri was getting hammered early in the game, I think somebody quoted in the papers that he was being hit like a pinata. But why wouldn't you have Tudor warming up in the bullpen?
I don't know.
And I guess it was the reason why, I guess after that season, you were fired as manager.
Yeah, I think that might have been the game that did it.
At the 1979 awards ceremony in November, for the third straight year, Tony Miniacci captured both the Most Valuable Player Award and Gold Glove. Dave Feeney took home his second Cy Young Award as the team's best pitcher, as he led the Mad Pirates in wins, strikeouts, and innings pitched. And Tony Dinelli, brother of Chip Dinelli, captured the Rookie of the Year award.
I remember going with Rich Ambrose over to the Bronx in the late 70s for the meetings we had with George Steinbrenner on how to improve the Yankees. And on the way in, we were just a couple blocks away from the stadium, and there was just this massive traffic jam and screaming and chanting. So Rich and I got out of the car and walked over, and there was this massive parade right outside Yankee Stadium. Big parade. Police, firemen. We thought we saw the Hawthorne Caballeros just going around the corner. Tanks. Of course, they're tanks. And right behind the tanks was Tony Miniacci, walking up the street, throwing things to people. People were just loving him, screaming, Hondo, 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 Hondo. And we asked the people around us, what is this? And they said, it's the Hondo Parade. This Hondo comes here a couple times a year and pays for everything. He's just that kind of person, and he's wonderful. And at that moment, we realized that the great gambling crisis of Tony Miniacci wasn't really a crisis at all. He took every penny he won, and he put it back to the community. From then on, it was just an uplifting experience to be in his presence.
'80 saw the U.S. men's hockey team stun the sports world by taking the gold medal at the Lake Placid Olympics by defeating the vaunted Soviet Union in the semifinal round before defeating Finland to take the gold. 1980 also saw the Philadelphia Phillies win their very first World Series. And the Hawthorne men's softball team Mad Pirates went through another name change and were now called Arthur Grumman Company. Before the start of the 1980 season, the Softball Action Committee named Tony Miniacci, fresh off his third straight MVP, the new manager of Arthur Grumman Company. Miniacci said the team will focus on fundamentals and be a mentor to all his players. Manager Miniacci was expecting big things from the team in 1980. The team was working hard and putting in the extra hours of practice. The players looked sharp and ready to go. Everything seemed to be falling into place. The team was confident they would make the playoffs again and challenge for a championship. Everyone couldn't wait to get the season started. However, the start of the season didn't go as planned, as Arthur Grumman Company dropped their first 4 league games. The team was able to regroup to finish league play at 7-7. But missed out on the playoffs by 1 game. League play was over, but not their season, as Arthur Grumman Company went on a major travel tour and finished on a 14-game winning streak for an overall record of 21-8. During the awards ceremony, Ed Big Lefty Miniacci had a solid season as he led the team with a .600 batting average and a team record .982 slugging percentage, but was edged out by Chip Dinelli for MVP, as the Chipper led the team in hits, RBIs, triples, and total bases. And for good measure, Dinelli captured his first Gold Glove award. Bill Carafello won his third Cy Young by finishing with a 7-1 record, which also had Carafello win the Comeback Player of the Year award. and Philly product Dan Bello finished second on the team in home runs, which helped Dan capture Rookie of the Year. I'm here with the Philly Flash, Dan Bello, who is a member of the Hawthorne Men's Softball League and also part of Feeney's Wizards of Ridgewood, New Jersey. Dan, how did a Philly guy like you wind up playing ball with a bunch of guys from North Jersey?
First of all, hi, and thanks for taking the time to speak to me. Well, before I played for Wizards and the Hawthorne teams, I had met Gary Garner in, I guess it was November of 79. Yikes, 79. And over time, you know, we got friendly, and when springtime came, he told me that his team, his softball teams needed players, or a player. And I mentioned, well, you know, I happen to play, but you know the deal. When someone says, oh, I'm pretty good, they're usually not. So I got a tryout. I got an audition in Ridgewood one day, and this was in the spring, and I guess I passed the audition. And to be honest, it was the best. I instantly made countless friends, and that's what playing ball with those guys was all about. Yeah, we played ball, and yeah, it was important, but I got to see my friends a couple times a week at least. And rarely did a weekend go by where I didn't hang out with one or more of those guys and their respective significant others.
My fondest memories were going to Puerto Rico. I gotta admit, that was great. We had a lot of fun. That was probably the highlight of our existence with the Wizards. The airplane ride over there, I went 1982, I believe. Yeah, I was on the World Tour 1982 team, and we went over there. The plane got delayed at Kennedy, freezing cold weather. We got on the plane. We're delayed on the ground, on the plane, and Jim Bakelar goes to the steward and says, hey, you think we could have a couple drinks? What do you think? So by 9 o'clock a.m., we're popping drinks and drinking on the airplane on our way to Puerto Rico. That was a fond memory. Second fond memory was the first day we got there. Now, let me remind you, this is 1982. Our bar bill, our first day there, our bar bill was over $200. That was like $20,000 today. It was a little brutal. Next thing was, at the hotel, me and Wassel were having breakfast one morning, and believe it or not, people were coming up to us and asking us for our autographs. We had these World Tour t-shirts on. People thought we were like big shots from the United States. So me and Steve were signing autographs, you know, no problem, over breakfast at the hotel. That was one of the highlights as well. And the last thing was actually playing for the Wizards in Ridgewood, in the Ridgewood Fast Pitch Softball League. Dave Feeney pitching. Anytime Feeney was on the mound, it was going to be an adventure. It was going to be a good show. You're going to have a lot of action in the field. So be prepared. Get your glove on. Strap it up because the ball's coming. All right? That's pretty much it.
January 1981 saw former actor and California Governor Ronald Reagan inaugurated as President of the United States. The New York Islanders won the first of 4 consecutive Stanley Cups. Lady Di married Prince Charles in one of the most talked about weddings in history. And the Los Angeles Dodgers defeated the New York Yankees to win the World Series. Before the 1981 season got underway, many of the Arthur Groom boys were scheduled to play a goodwill tour in Puerto Rico for the world-famous Wizards of Ridgewood, New Jersey, managed by Earl Weaver protege Dave Feeney and backed by Feeney Funeral Home. The Wizards were part of the Ridgewood Modified Fast Pitch League. Despite struggles during the 1979 and 80 seasons, the Wizards were very popular and played the Puerto Rico exhibition games against Las Palomas, the San Juan Fire Department, and other Puerto Rican powers. Many of the newcomers from Arthur Groom showed off their skills in Puerto Rico, like center fielder Dan Bello, who tracked down everything that came his way. But it was 19-year-old Tim Poleski Skyway who took the island by storm with his screaming line drives, rocket arm, and movie star good looks. Other players who starred in Puerto Rico were Paul Rocky Carfello, Easy Ed Harsgaard, Steve Wassel, and Ridgewood icon Jim Shaker Baklar. They all brought the Puerto Rican crowds to their feet with their amazing play and interaction with the fans. The trip was sponsored again in 1982, and Las Palomas returned the favor in 1983 and came to the mainland to take on the Wizards.
Jim Bakelar? Oh, sure. Never forget Jim. He was the hard-charging, big blonde guy who came to the Wizards in 1979. He was one of the original Wizards that we drafted from Pawtucket, and he was a first baseman. He was backup for Chip Dinelli, and he caught the imagination of the crowd. They'd always yell, "Bakey, Bakey, Bakey," and did a great job. He was like a statue at first base. He would put his glove out and never move it. It was amazing. Just never move it. No matter where the ball was, his glove would stay right there. Took a lot of concentration and perseverance to do that. I remember one day he told everybody after the game, when we were having a few libations, that he had a nickname for everybody on the team. And he had told everybody what their nickname was. So we all thought it'd be fun the next game to show up with our names, our nicknames on our backs. And the crowd was into it. It was in the press that we were doing this. And the next game we all showed up and we were all facing each other. And on the count of three, we all turned so we could see our nicknames on our backs, and we all could see what Bakelar called each one of us. And we turned, and each one of us had asshole written on our backs. That was Jim Bakelar. He called everybody an asshole. But his spirit lives on. Jim Bakelar.
Just as the team returned from their Puerto Rico trip, a sensational news story broke about Steve Buis. It was learned Buis was involved impersonating the comedian Carrot Top at Boxwood Casino. Carrot Top was running late for his set, so Buis, on a bet from Tony Miniacci, went on stage as Carrot Top. While the crowd was convinced Buis was Carrot Top, after a handful of bad jokes, Buis was booed off the stage. While Buis settled out of court with Carrot Top's career took a significant hit. Now, of course, your organization talks about most of the good things that the softball players accomplish, but there's always a few negative aspects in everyone's life, and there was a couple of scandals, most specifically the Steve Buis scandal. Is that something that you're aware of and that your organization talks about and has done any research on?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that was one of the darker scandals of the time. Our organization is dedicated to really keeping the history alive, and sometimes that even means something bad. It's not necessarily something good. And so we're not trying to erase what happened, but we are just trying to kind of preserve that.
Yes, the Buis scandal does stand out as one of the more notable scandals. He was one of the best catchers. He was a catcher. Yes, trust me, I know. One of the best catchers I've ever seen. And then just once that story broke, it was sad. Sad to see the reaction.
A very talented, good-looking young man,
yes.
Almost through his entire career away. Now, Am I out of line here? Because I did a little research myself. That Michelle, your mom actually had dated Steve Buis for a while, and
That's
then
right.
suddenly it abruptly ended. Did it have anything to do with this scandal?
Yes, 100%. I mean, I think had it not been for that scandal, Steve Buis could have been my dad. 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 My dad. My dad. My dad. My dad.
Initially, there were high hopes for the season. However, with the bad press lingering from the Buis story, Arthur Grumman Company staggered to a 7-10 league record and barely finished over 500 at 17-15. Manager Tony Miniacci's frustration came to a boiling point and resigned with 11 games left in the season, and Steve Neuver finished out the season as the skipper. But the other teams in the league were getting better, and Arthur Groom was just treading water, and it was evident the team was at a crossroad. Despite the disappointing season, there were a few stars. Chip Dinelli took home MVP honors for the second straight year by winning the Triple Crown for a second time, leading the team with a .500 batting average, 8 home runs, and 47 runs batted in. Gary Garner won the Cy Young, breaking the stranglehold Carafello and Feeney had on the award. Budding superstar Tim Pileski, or Skyway as he was most commonly known, tied for the team lead in homers and won Rookie of the Year in a runaway. And Philly Flash Dan Bello, who showed off his fielding skills in Puerto Rico, won the Gold Glove Award. And despite all the distractions, Steve Buis was named the Comeback Player of the Year. The award ceremony had just ended, and the Softball Action Committee put on an intense search for their new manager. SAC were not only looking at the internal candidates, but candidates outside the organization. Rich Ambrose interviewed for the vacancy, and insiders claimed he wowed the committee with his presentation. On December 1st, 1981, Rich Ambrose, or Amby, as most of the team called him, was named the new manager. Ambrose felt the team was good enough to make the playoffs now, but still needed to upgrade their talent base. January 1982, the San Francisco 49ers defeated the Bengals in the Super Bowl. A North Carolina freshman by the name of Michael Jordan hit the winning shot to defeat Georgetown for the NCAA basketball championship. The St. Louis Cardinals defeated the Milwaukee Brewers to capture the World Series, and Arthur Grumman Company, with their new manager, were entering a new and exciting softball chapter. Just a few days after the 1981 award ceremony ended, I was called into the Softball Action Committee office to interview for the now vacant managerial spot for Arthur Grumman Company. Now, the board members had also let me know that they were strongly considering John Pisano, the current manager of Hook Supply, as a manager, because they felt that perhaps maybe they should go outside the organization. They were getting tired of the same old, the mediocre play. And I was very frank with the board members. I told them, if you hire John Pisano, you are going to have a massive exodus. In addition, Tony Miniacci was already considering leaving the team. He was being heavily recruited, specifically by McGill's. McGill's manager at the time, Dave Scarber, was putting on the full court press, offering him cash, guaranteed contracts, women, you name it. And we couldn't afford to lose any good players. We had to keep the good players that we had and bring in more good players. And nothing against John Pisano. He's a solid guy, a solid manager, but he's what I call a push-button manager. They had a bunch of, Hook Supply had a bunch of long ball, musclehead guys, and not a lot of strategy involved with that. What we needed was somebody who knew the game, who was aggressive, who put winning first, wasn't concerned about the stats, and knew how to deal with the crybabies on the team. Also, going back to the Tony Miniacci situation, we needed to come back and match the guaranteed contract that Dave Scarber had presented to Tony. We did that. Tony wound up accepting the terms, and I asked the board to keep it quiet because I didn't want this kind of information leaking out to the rest of the team. And we thought we had it under wraps, and we kept it quiet. But like anything else, word eventually leaks out. But I accepted the job, and I was very excited at the time to become manager of Arthur Groom and Company. As manager, Ambrose was the first to bring analytics to the game. He also brought an emotional, fiery managerial style to the field. Ambrose became the first and only manager to be kicked out of a game. Later in the year, as a player for the Wizards, the teams were shaking hands after a game, and Ambrose shouted, "Hey, you with the T on your hat, you suck," and a brawl ensued. After some early uneven play, Arthur Groom and Company went on to win 9 out of their next 10 league games. They were led by the big bat of Tim Pileski Skyway and an amazing 5-game stretch by Steve Neuver when he went an incredible 18 for 22. With the playoffs clinched, Arthur Groom was a season-ending doubleheader sweep away from winning their first division crown. You know, in 1982, when I was named manager of the Thumbs Up softball team, we were on the cusp, I think, of being a consistent playoff team. We had brought in Bello and Skyway that really gave us some speed in the outfield. And but what had happened at the time, Tony Miniacci was talking to the Gills. Now, I didn't want to lose him because he was a good ball player, but now a little known fact was that he made me write up a contract specific to certain terms.
We all do.
Oh, really?
Oh, sure. In fact, the guy that told me was the man that used to brush off the bases. He said, "What's going on with the contract?" I said, "What contract?" So he told me all about it. He told me the terms, he told me everything.
Well, you know, he had things in there like he needed to bat within the first 3 positions in the lineup. Neuver had to play center field all the time.
All the time.
He was to get $10 per game.
Yeah, which at the time was like $1 million today.
Well, sure. And also, that Neuver was to be reimbursed for the sponsors fees that he laid out a couple years earlier. And that I was not to ever go to Chip Dinelli for advice.
Which we all thought was a big mistake.
Oh, sure.
Big mistake.
Chip was the first, one of the first managers of the team, one of the greats, one of the legends.
Sure, he was the first one with a feather earring.
Right, on the right side.
Yeah.
You know, which was kind of groundbreaking at the time.
Well, that's Chip.
Hello, boys and girls. T-Man here, and they want me to talk about this contract that I signed from the 82 through 84 season. I'm looking it over, and really, I was such a prick. Some of the highlights are lowlights. It says I was to get paid $10 a game, but nothing if I went hitless, which means I probably would have fought with Robin on whether it was a hit or an error, but I still haven't received any money. Some of the other lowlights says I had to play in every game that I was there for. I couldn't be taken out unless I requested it. I had to bat in the top 3 positions in the lineup, and I didn't have to lug the equipment around. Are you kidding me? Why were you guys even friends with me? Holy cow. Steve Neuver has to play center field. Now, I know what you're thinking. The guy can't break a pane of glass with his fastball and has a range of maybe 50 feet. But the thinking was, with his speed, if it didn't drop in, he wouldn't have to throw it.
Or he could just throw the ball to Skyway, he'd throw it in, and it would get there just as quicker. Rich Ambrose had to remain the manager, and he had to take care of crybabies. How'd that work out? Steve Nuver and Tony Miniacci could do whatever they wanted within reason. Well, that's pretty accurate because we pretty much did. I gotta lift my glasses to read it. What else is on here? Rich Ambrose could reach out to Tony or Steve for advice, but never Chip. Well, look, it was 82 through 84. Chip and I were living together. We didn't kill each other, so there's that. Anyway, that's it. I love and miss you guys. Stay safe. Hondo out.
Things started off well for Arthur Groom in that final 1982 season doubleheader as they smashed McGill's in the first game 42-11, setting team and league records for most runs scored in a game. However, the Bats went into a collective coma in Game 2 as they lost the game and the division to Seymour Pollock 8-4. The hitting slump continued in the playoffs as the Groomers were swept by Rolling Hills 11-3 and 8-3, and just like that, the season was over. Overall, my first year as manager was, I think, somewhat of a success. We did make the playoffs, had a shot at winning the division. Losing that last game kept us from doing that, but while disappointing, I thought it was a solid season. We had some interesting individual seasons. Steve D'Angelo, who was 3 for 12 for the season, and after 3 games broke his leg, never played another game for us again, and was surprisingly Rookie of the Year. Must have been a lean class for rookies that year. Also, Ed, big lefty Miniacci, won the Gold Glove, always a slick fielder. Plays some outfield, plays a little first base, plays a little shortstop, played a little bit of everything, but a solid ball player and solid lefty bat. And again, Gold Glove caliber defense. Then there was Carl Silvestri, who won the Cy Young Award, was 7-1 with a 3.15 ERA. And when you're looking at slow pitch softball, to have a 3.15 ERA, I mean, that is really saying something. Also, Carl also contributed with the bat, hitting .423, which overall gave him the Comeback Player of the Year award. Then there was Steve Nuver, who had an amazing 18 for 22 stretch over 5 games, which basically he carried us during those 5 games. I mean, he was getting on base on just about every single time. He hit the ball. And won the MVP award that season, breaking the stranglehold that Tony Miniacci and Chip Dinelli had on the award. And then there was Tim Pileski, Skyway, as he was most commonly known, won the Triple Crown and also led the team in 9 offensive categories. While it was surprising that he didn't take the MVP, it was quite clear that Skyway's star was certainly on the rise.
Everyone was just, especially the females, just such a fan of Skyway. I mean, was there a better looking player ever?
Yeah, that Tim Skyway.
He was also one hell of a ball player too. It wasn't just good.
Oh, right, sure.
But just the perfect specimen, a ball player, an awesome looking, there's no words. There's no words.
Sounds like you miss him and you don't even know him.
I don't. I just can remember my mom saying, how much she loved him, and she was just such a fan of his, and she was the one who started the panty throwing. That that just brings a tear to my eye because everyone just loved him so much.
During the COVID-19 epidemic here in 2020, I went into the supermarket for the first time, and I know there was the toilet paper shortage. I had a flashback to the late 1970s and the great panty shortage caused by Tim Skyway Pileski, who played for both the Wizards and Arthur Groom. To be on the mound in those days, it was just a surreal experience. Tens of thousands of panties thrown onto the field by the top of the first inning. Sometimes we couldn't even see the bases. Usually guys on the other team would try to stuff a panty or two in their pockets and run away with a phone number, but security got hold of them. But just quite the time.
1983 saw the Washington Redskins defeat the Miami Dolphins in the Super Bowl. The Baltimore Orioles took out the Philadelphia Phillies in 5 games in the World Series, and the Hawthorne Men's Softball League would change their pitching rules and switch to a 6 to 12-foot pitching arc. However, not only did we see a change in the pitching rules, Arthur Groom was now under a new sponsor, Thumbs Up Bar and Grill. The Thumbs Up pitching staff struggled with the new rules as they surrendered 334 hits in just 155 innings, which was the main reason the team didn't reach the playoffs. Offensively, several players had big years, including 4 players hitting over 500. But once again, it was the big bat of Skyway who led the team again in 9 offensive categories and was the overwhelming choice as the team MVP. Rookie of the Year sensation, shortstop Gary Petoniak, took home the Gold Glove, becoming the first rookie to win the award, and controversial Steve Buis won the Cy Young as the team's best pitcher. Ed Milbrook had a solid season, hitting nearly 400 and tying for the team lead in home runs, which earned him Comeback Player of the Year honors. After 1983, Tim Pileski, or Skyway, had played 3 seasons. After those 3 seasons, he had been named Rookie of the Year, twice won the Triple Crown, named MVP after the 83 season, starred in Puerto Rico, and was named the most valuable player of the Patterson Fast Pitch Softball League. He was now, without question, the most talented player on the team.
Town.
Tim hardly ever dated any of the girls that threw their panties on the field, breaking hundreds of thousands of hearts all across the country. He dated for a while a girl who dated Mick Jagger, Paul McCartney, John Lennon, members of the Kinks, I believe Led Zeppelin twice, a girl named Patty Timko who finished second in the Miss Universe contest twice in a row. Very nice girl, great looks, but in the end, Tim dumped her too because she just didn't make the grade. That's how good Tim was.
And the Skyway star was shining even brighter. As his popularity was getting to be so big, he started to appear on game shows.
What sensitive lunatic billionaire was the model for TV's newest singing, dancing California raisin? Mitch.
Howard Hughes?
No. Tim.
Michael Jackson?
Yes, 20 points.
1982, 1983, two redheads dominated the entire galaxy of the United States. The first, of course, Steve Buis. Steve, known for his incredible abilities on the softball field, known for his incredible looks. In fact, in 1983, Steve was the first male ever to appear in the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. And he was just dominant. He was everywhere. He threw the ball out at the 1983 All-Star game. He was just everywhere. The other redhead was Carrot Top, the comedian. You couldn't turn a television on without seeing Carrot Top, either appearing somewhere, being a guest star on a show, endorsing many, many products, people just praising Carrot Top. So I remember it was the summer of '83. Up in Foxwoods Casino in Connecticut, Carrot Top was opening up for Bill Cosby. And so myself, Steve Buis, Rich Ambrose, Chip Dinelli, and Tony Miniacci drove up to Foxwoods to see Carrot Top because we wanted to see him in person. He's so funny. So, by this time, Carrot Top had a reputation for maybe being late, maybe not showing up. So, the 8 o'clock show, 8 o'clock comes and goes, 8:15, 8:20, Steve Buis says, I'm a punctual guy. I'm going backstage and finding out where the hell this guy is. So, 2 minutes later, we're wondering where Steve is. All of a sudden, the music starts, the music stops, the curtain opens. Who walks out? Steve Buis. But he has red hair. Everybody thinks he's Carrot Top. So he starts telling jokes, and they're not funny at all. So after 2 or 3 minutes, people are booing, and they're throwing shoes, and they're throwing popcorn and soda. And then after 5 minutes, people are starting to rip the chairs out of the floor and throwing the chairs at Steve. A couple of them hit him. Anyway, after another minute or two, Bill Cosby comes out on stage and says, hey, get off my stage, Carrot Top, hey. Pushes Steve off the stage gently, and place goes nuts. Cosby was hysterical. He salvaged the night. But unfortunately for Carrot Top, his career was over. It was done. No more TV, nothing. And he blamed Steve Buis. So one day at a Golf of Brook League game, when he knew Steve wasn't going to be there, Carrot Top showed up with the red hair. Excuse me. And he says, I'm catching. He has his mask on, so he fools everybody. He catches the first inning, and he did a pretty bad job. And between innings, he decides to put on a show, just like Steve Buis used to, breaking boards, doing karate kicks and spins. And And so he slams his head into a board, rolls over dead. So the conundrum is, did he kill his own career, or did Steve Buis kill it for him? Nobody can really answer that except Carrot Top.
I want you to know just how proud all of us are to have you representing us. And when you see us out in the stands waving Old Glory, you know that we're waving it for you. The same spirit is evident all across this land. Many years ago, believe it or not, I competed in sports, and coaches were known for spurring us on with some pretty punchy phrases and dialogue or monologue. And looking back now, I realize those coaches were just as excited at the time as we were. And the same is true right now. You can be certain of that. We're all in this together, and we know that we can count on you to push yourselves to the limit. So set your sights high and then go for it.
I have to tell you, you'll never find a greater bunch of guys to play softball with or to do anything with. And we did a whole bunch of stuff together in addition to softball. Many parties, many get-togethers. I have nothing but great things to say about all of these guys. I mean, there might be one or two exceptions, but I would say 98% of them are terrific people. They're all good. I'm kidding around. They're all great guys. I was very honored to be on the team. And I don't remember exactly when the team got together. I think it was after high school. I don't think it was during high school. I think it was after high school. And I remember I was one of about 26 people playing second base. And I was in Carl Silvestri's basement with Rich Ambrose one evening. And we're talking about the team. And they both said to me that they had thought about it. And they said, look, Steve, if you want to play in every game, you should be the catcher. And, you know, I don't know if catcher was such a star position to aspire to at the time, but I thought, well, rather than being platooned with 28 other guys, I can be catcher and play most of the games. And you're in every play. And I remember having some great tagouts at home on lobs from the outfield from Skyway. And others. So that's a nice memory of how I came to be a regular everyday player or every week player on the team. So I'm grateful to them for that. And there are so many terrific memories. I don't even know where to begin.
In January 1984, the Los Angeles Raiders defeated the Washington Redskins in the Super Bowl. The Detroit Tigers wiped out the San Diego Padres in the World Series, and 1984 was a groundbreaking year as Rich Ambrose, along with the Softball Action Committee, negotiated a lucrative TV deal for Thumbs Up, an unprecedented event in league history. The added revenue allowed the team to increase spending on player development and training. The TV deal provided increased exposure and put Thumbs Up on the softball map. And on May 6, 1984, the first softball game was broadcast on the Thumbs Up television network.
Lineup for Thumbs Up. Leading off is Hoover at short field. Yeah, baby. Petoniak at short. Batting third, Skyway in left. Danelli batting cleanup at first base. T. Miniacci at third. Batting sixth, Millbrook at second. Batting seventh, Bello in center field. Batting eighth, Rich Ambrose, DH. Batting 9th, Mike Miniacci in right. Batting 10th, Buis behind the plate. 11th, Feeney on the mound. And 12th, Mark Van Rye, your cameraman, DH. Let's do it, boy!
The increased media exposure seemed to energize Thumbs Up during the season. For most of the year, their play was crisp and inspired. The post-game manager's show was instrumental in the inspired play, as all players wanted to be showcased as the star of the game. And there were plenty of stars to go around, with a number of players having big years, led by Dinelli, Petoniak, and defending most valuable player Tim Pileski Skyway. Thumbs Up was also getting solid seasons from precocious youngsters like Mike Miniacci and veterans Ambrose, Millbrook, Tony Miniacci, and Rookie of the Year candidate Rich Heil. The pitching staff was also balanced with solid starters like Gary Garner, Mark Van Rye, and anchored by the unflappable Dave Feeney.
Dave Feeney was a great pitcher, an artisan of his craft. On the mound, he could bedazzle any batter with his famous Feeney floater, which the batter's eyes would go wide as he tried to hit it. It wasn't easy. And if the batter did manage to make contact, a pop-up, a soft liner, a grounder to Miniacci at third, who would easily scoop it up, dance around a bit, and toss a chip at first. Out of there.
Any other players? Now, there was, in Ridgewood, there was a famous team back in the late 70s, early 80s called the Wizards.
One of Michelle's favorites.
Absolutely.
And
mine, of course.
I understand Dave Feeney was the manager. Are you familiar with Dave at all, his history?
Outstanding managerial duties. He just really, was
just took that
so
team
good.
from nothing.
From
They
nothing.
were nothing.
And look where they wound up.
International fame. I mean,
Puerto Rico. You go to Puerto Rico and there's still Wizard flags flying.
Mm-hmm. I mean, not any person can just do that. You need a true talent to do that.
Yeah, from my understanding, I know I have experience, have played with Dave Feeney on both the Wizards and in the Hawthorne League. And Dave was truly inspirational. He was a leader. It came naturally to him. And to me, it's a pleasure to see two young people like yourself trying to keep the legacy going. Again, I want to thank you for your time today. It's very well appreciated, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thumbs Up was well balanced and finished league play 11-5 and qualified for the playoffs. Considering how well the team was playing down the stretch, Thumbs Up had to be considered one of the favorites going into the playoffs, and manager Rich Ambrose expected big things.
How about your chances in the playoffs? What do you think you'll do?
Excellent chance. We're going all the way this year. You can quote me on that, too.
But once again, the bats went dead, and the team was swept out of the playoffs by the scores of 17-9 by Rolling Hills and 5-4 by TSI in 12 innings. Thumbs Up was disappointed as they felt they were superior to the teams that defeated them. Most depressing was the fact they have not won a playoff game in their 3 appearances in 1979, 1982, and in 1984. The Softball Action Committee was not happy with the playoff ouster either, and basically gave a win or else edict for 1985. Despite the disappointing end to the season, the annual award ceremony held in November was the highlight of the long year, as for the first time ever, the award ceremony was broadcast on national television.
And in first place, with 66 points, Steve Heil! 3-time winner. Tying him with another legend of pitching, Bill Cooter Marcello. Oh my God. Dave Feeney! Yeah, baby!
Tony Mediace! The winner, Mr. Chip Denali!
To be on the field with Chip was an amazing experience every single game. When he was younger, he would race around the bases. He was one of the only lefties in the league, and he would just slam that ball down the first base line or into center field, and he would take off and round first and second, and he would just be locomotion. Unbelievable. In his later years, he had his knees were in braces, and he wasn't as fast, but the enthusiasm that man still has, even in his older years, he's just an amazing person to be with, truly.
In January 1985, the San Francisco 49ers defeated the Miami Dolphins in the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Royals defeated the St. Louis Cardinals in 7 games to win the World Series. And Thumbs Up softball team was preparing what would hope to be a championship season. After the award ceremony in November, feeling the pressure to win, Ambrose decided to go after big-time talent in the offseason. This was a calculated risk since the core of the team had been together for 10 years and any high-priced outsiders could mess with the chemistry. Ambrose felt the risk was worthwhile. He first brought in Dave Scarber, former manager and outfielder for McGill's. Scarber was a good fit since during the offseason he was friends with most of the team. Next, he brought in pitcher Brian Carmen. These moves were basically replacements for the recently retired pitcher Dave Feeney and one-year wonder Rookie of the Year Rich Heil. But it was the big-ticket acquisitions of Joe Rosano and Lenny Torsha that shook things up. The 2 big-time hitters would definitely cut into the playing time of core members and ruffle some feathers. The 1985 Thumbs Up squad was without question the deepest and most talented team they ever put on the field. They were well balanced and blessed with the type of team speed that allowed them to run the bases with reckless abandon. Up and down the lineup, they had players who could hit for power and hit to all fields. Their defense took a back seat to no one, as the infield would make Tinker to Evers to Chance proud. And hitting the ball to the outfield was a place where triples went to die. And few dared to run on the outfield arms. Thumbs Up stormed to a 13-3 regular season league record and the number 1 seed going into the playoffs. Everything seemed to be clicking and confidence was at an all-time high. But once again, they were swept out of the playoffs as the bats went silent and the team and their manager were stunned. That 1985 team, Thumbs Up team, was the best team we ever put together. It was the best team in the league. We pretty much rolled through the regular season. But once again, the bats went into a coma. We made errors at the wrong time and swept out of the playoffs. That was tough to take.
The other tough thing to take was losing my job as manager. There were a number of underlying things going on that led to my demise, despite coming off our most successful regular season, making the playoffs 3 out of the 4 years that I managed the team. You know, bringing in some of that new talent did ruffle some feathers. And at the end of the day, besides winning and managing, really the most important thing is controlling the crybabies. And at the end of the day, that was my undoing, and the crybabies won. That's just the way it goes. Despite the disappointing end to the season, the team still gathered for the annual award ceremony in November, and once again was broadcast by Thumbs Up TV.
Thumbs up, most valuable player, Tim Pulaski.
The other major award winners were Gary Petoniak taking home his second Gold Glove, Lenny Torsha winning the Rookie of the Year, and Mark Van Rye taking the Cy Young Award as the team's top pitcher. Van Rye also contributed with the bat, hitting .455, second on the team, which earned him Comeback Player of the Year honors. Shortly after the award ceremony, the committee decided a managerial change was necessary, and Ambrose was forced to step down as manager. While Ambrose overall had success, the team's playoff failures were the main contributors to his demise.
When somebody mentions Rich Ambrose to me, I think not only of a gifted athlete, but I think a team spirit. Remember one Wizards game, we were trying to find ourselves, and after the game, Rich thought to himself, I've got to bring this team together. And he picked somebody out on the other team, and he just yelled across the field, "Hey, you, with the T on your hat, you suck." And it kind of started a brawl, but it brought us together. A little battered and bruised and bloodied, and I think Danny Bello was in jail for a month, but that's okay. It brought us together. That's the first thing I think of when I think of Rich Ambrose.
Rich Ambrose as manager, great job. He also was a great judge of talent, brought in some fine players who really added some punch and power and a little bit of finesse to the team's effort.
'86 saw the Chicago Bears overwhelm the New England Patriots to win the Super Bowl. The Montreal Canadiens won hockey's Stanley Cup. The New York Mets won the World Series, defeating the Boston Red Sox. And Thumbs Up introduced their new skipper, Steve Nuver, and under his watch promised a golden era of softball. And also announced a new sponsor, Hawthorne Liquors. Hawthorne Liquors, under first-year manager Steve Nuver, finished the season a solid 15-10 and 10-7 in the division, which qualified them for the playoffs. And, for the first time, the team was able to win a first-round playoff game by defeating Hook Supply, before losing to Shortways in the second round. I'm going to mention Hook Supply component for you, and one particular name, Vinny LaGuardia.
Well, the LaGuardia boys were big muscle heads, as most of that team was. John Pisano, the manager, built that team pretty much. And it was all pre-steroid boys and everything, but they were all huge. And the LaGuardia brothers were especially arrogant. You know, the same thing, all muscle-bound and the whole deal. And I didn't like that team. I didn't like that team at all. You know, Frank Siskowski, big fucking mouth. I didn't like him. I really didn't like anybody on that team except I liked the catcher, Jim Ciricella, who I used to see in bars around town and all. And he was a nice guy. And I always thought to myself,
That's a hell of a nice guy.
that's a hell of a nice guy. What's he doing on this team of assholes? You know. But I never liked the team. Captain Hook was, you know,
John Pisano.
Was John Pisano. Yeah, God rest his soul, he's gone. But yeah, the team I liked the least was Hook Supply. Hook Supply.
Hawthorne Liquors received big years from Chip Dinelli, who led the team in batting average, runs scored, RBIs, and triples. Tim Pileski led the team in home runs and slugging percentage. And Dave Scarber had a solid season by batting .407 and leading the team in hits and doubles. At the annual award ceremony, Chip Dinelli took home his 6th MVP award. Chip also tied with outfielder Mike Miniacci to win the Gold Glove, and former Rolling Hills and Wizards star Steve Wassel won Rookie of the Year. Former Cy Young Award winner Gary Garner took home Comeback Player of the Year honors. When I think about Chip Dinelli, I go back to what Ted Williams once said about Mickey Mantle. If I had that kid's talent, I'd hit 400 every year. Translating that into softball, if Dinelli had Skyway's talent, he would have hit 650 every year. In 1987, Aretha Franklin became the first woman inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 1987 also saw the New York Giants defeat the Denver Broncos to win their first Super Bowl. And the Minnesota Twins defeated the St. Louis Cardinals in 7 games to capture the World Series. In the meantime, 1987 was an up and down year for Hawthorne Liquors. However, they did manage to squeak into the playoffs. Liquors won their first game, but for the second straight year was eliminated by shortways. The big year for Liquors came from Ed Miniacci, as Big Lefty became the first player to win the MVP, Gold Glove, and Cy Young awards in the same season. Manager Steve Neuver won the Comeback Player of the Year, and Sal Minicozzi, with just 7 at-bats, was named Rookie of the Year.
Well, the high point, if there was a single high point, it had to be our trip in March of '81 to Puerto Rico. It was an experience that a lot of guys would kill for. Honestly, I had a great time. I was with my friends. We were playing ball. It was 5 days of just paradise. And that one day that we spent in Comerío against the Bacardi team was really, really memorable. And there are a ton of stories that come out of it. For me, the highlight was when Skyway knocked out a kid from behind. His throw went into the scorer's box above the batting cage, hit the back wall, and then hit this kid on the back of the head. But yeah, Timmy had an arm, and that kid learned that day. And then Timmy got married later that day. It was a great time.
1988 saw the Washington Redskins defeat the Denver Broncos to win Super Bowl 22. The Los Angeles Dodgers upset the Oakland A's in 5 games to win the World Series. And the Softball Action Committee, in a somewhat surprising move, select Chip Dinelli to replace Steve Neuver, who stepped down as manager. The other big news saw Hawthorne Liquors leave the Hawthorne League and join the Modified Fast Pitch League in Haledon, New Jersey. Chip Dinelli? Really? That's who the Softball Action Committee selected? The same Chip Dinelli who pitched Carl Silvestri against Hook Supply after Tudor Carfello shut them out on WAD 1. I mean, who's making these decisions? That's it? That's the only choice we had? You know, Dave Feeney's still sitting out there. How about giving him a call to manage the team? But no, that would be, that would be like the smart thing to do. Liquors took to their new surroundings well and raced to a 12-3 one-loss league record, finishing in first place and qualified for the league championship series against Prospect Park. The series would be a best 3 out of 5 affair, and manager Chip Dinelli was confident the boys would take home their first title. But once again, they would be haunted by the playoff ghosts of the past, as Liquors dropped the series in 4 games and walked away empty-handed. However, the near championship run brought about the reemergence of Tony Miniacci as a big-time star, as Hondo won the MVP and Gold Glove awards. Tom Brophy had the greatest season in team history on the mound, winning the Cy Young by going 6-0 and posting a team record microscopic 1.63 ERA. Dave Hall was named Rookie of the Year, leading the team in batting and slugging percentage. And former manager Rich Ambrose, coming off 2 disappointing seasons, hit a solid .413, second on the team, and was awarded the Comeback Player of the Year. January 1989, the San Francisco 49ers, behind Joe Montana, defeated the Cincinnati Bengals to capture the Super Bowl. The Oakland A's completed a 4-game sweep of the San Francisco Giants to win the World Series, and as well as things went for Hawthorne Liquors in 1988, 1989 was just the opposite. What could go wrong would go wrong. The team spent the entire offseason in party mode. For months, the team ate, drank, smoked, and generally spent the months leading up to the next season in constant Mardi Gras. The boys came into the year fat, lazy, and out of shape, and finished dead last with a 4-14 win-loss league record. Almost by default, Tony Miniacci took home MVP and Gold Glove honors again. Ed, Big Lefty Miniacci, won the Cy Young, since his 2 wins represented half the team's total. Tom Brophy, who was nearly unhittable in 1988, was pulverized and finished 1-8 and surrendered 124 hits in 59 innings. The lone bright spot was former Rolling Hills player Gordon Muth, who won Rookie of the Year by hitting .372, second on the team. Rich Ambrose won Comeback Player for the 2nd straight year, which is unheard of and basically impossible. But that's the kind of year it was.
I remember about 2 years after A-Rod came to the Yankees, they had the famous interview with Russ Salzberg, himself and Derek Jeter. And much like the old Ali Fraser interview with Howard Cosell, at one point Russ asked Derek who his favorite player was. And Derek Jeter said Babe Ruth. Alex threw his chair back and stood up and challenged him to a fist fight right there. Jeter stood up to accept the challenge. And A-Rod looked at him and said, it was famous. He said, my favorite player was Hondo. Jeter welled up. He said, oh my gosh, me too. And they hugged. And they were friends ever since then. And that's the effect Tony had on everybody. Amazing.
'90 started with the San Francisco 49ers winning back-to-back Super Bowls, defeating the Denver Broncos. The Cincinnati Reds completed a 4-game sweep of the Oakland A's to win the World Series. And Hawthorne Liquors changed sponsors once again and were now called Dilliston Lumber.
I'm having a hit. Salute. It's good weed, Noob. And
yes, it is.
So I put Bewison right. I'm like, all right, so.
Actually, I was managing back then. I had him in right.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You were managing. Yeah. He's in right. I'm on the mound, I think. Oh, no, I'm at first.
At first. And what happened was there was a couple of plays during that inning that he didn't handle quite appropriately.
Yeah, a lazy fly ball gets hit to right. Bewis is out there circling, helicoptering around. It drops behind him. All right, he misjudged it. Guy gets doubled. All right. A couple batters later, another lazy fly ball to right. Bewis is circling, helicoptering, and it drops in front of him. Now I'm like furious. I'm kicking dirt. I'm staring out at him, and I'm like, Ambrose, get him the fuck out of there. Get him out of there.
And I think I tried to explain to you, I said, we only have 9 guys today.
Yeah.
And I said, where would you suggest I put them? I said,
Yeah.
And you said, we'll play with 8. He said,
Yeah.
Lumber rebounded from the 1989 disaster by making the playoffs with a solid 12-5 one-loss record. However, made a quick exit and were swept by Prospect Park 6-5 and 9-6. When the awards were handed out, it was Steve Wassel capturing the MVP as he led the team in slugging, runs scored, and RBIs, and for good measure, took home the Gold Glove. Tom Brophy came back nicely, finishing second in the MVP race, and was awarded the Cy Young by posting an 11-6 record and a solid 3.10 ERA. Ed Millbrook was Comeback Player of the Year while hitting .421, second on the team. And the mysterious B. Greenberg was named Rookie of the Year.
Andy Fox? Oh, yeah. Andy Fox is known as the Pete Best of the Wizards. Yeah. Never even played a game. No. He came down from Tidewater for the 1980 World Tour. And unfortunately for him, his friend and fellow player, Paul Carfello, tied him down on the beach. And Andy had severe sun poisoning. Yeah, he never got to play. But Andy kind of lived on in infamy. He was featured as the number 6 answer on Family Feud, and the category was Name 6 Famous Wizards Players. Andy was number 6. The family got it wrong. It's a now famous episode where they had Steve Harvey And they were pummeling him because they thought it was an unfair answer. But Steve kept saying, Andy Fox, come on, everybody knows that. He's a sun poison guy. That's Andy. I don't know where he is now. We kind of lost touch.
(1991) saw the New York Giants win Super Bowl 25 by defeating the Buffalo Bills 20-19. The Minnesota Twins won the World Series in 7 games by outlasting the Atlanta Braves, and as the 1991 season approached for Dilliston Lumber, the roster changes over the past few seasons were evident. Rich Ambrose and Steve Neuver, original members of the WRSL, had finally moved on and were no longer with the team. Other longtime members like Dan Bello, Gary Garner, and Ed Milbrook left to do other things. Also, slick fielding shortstop Gary Petoniak left the team after the 1987 season. And Steve Buis, Rich Meyer, and pitching legend Dave Feeney were also gone. While the 91 squad had enough talent to make the playoffs again, it lacked the personality of the previous teams, especially those from 1974 through 84. However, despite the changes and the early exit from the playoffs, everyone still looked forward to the award ceremony. For the second straight year, Steve Wassel took home the MVP and Gold Glove, while Tom Brophy once again was the team's top pitcher. Relative unknown D. Azaki was Rookie of the Year, and Paul Scheck was named Comeback Player of the Year. And I hate to say this on the air, but I understand when I played for the Wizards, you were only allowed so many out-of-towners. And I played under an assumed name. Steiger was his last name. I actually wore a jersey that said Steiger on it. And Marty Boyd, who was on that team, used to refer to me as Steiger. And I think after a while, he actually thought my real name was Steiger.
Yeah, I think he did too. I always thought it was amazing, Rich, that the talent from Hawthorne, we had drafted Marty Boyd. That made the big news. And Marty came over here and he just couldn't take the pitching.
I think it was the pressure. You got to remember, the Wizards were on the world stage.
Yeah.
And playing for Rolling Hills as he did, playing with his comfortable, cop buddies and whatnot. I mean, it's a whole different game. You come there, you're in front of people, you got screaming girls, throwing their clothes at you and things like that. I mean, I used to have to deal with that myself, God knows how many times. And then Skyway, I mean, let's face it. They started a whole new lingerie line because of Skyway. So Marty was a solid ball player, but after a while, the pressure, I think, just got
cracked.
Cracked. And,
I take a bit of pride in being on the softball team that I played on in Hawthorne with most of them were Hawthorne High graduates in our class. We did have some folks from other grades like Rich Meyer, and I think there might have been 1 or 2 people from other towns. Some other hangers-on that wanted to be part of the team. I mean, who wouldn't want to be part of that great team? But a moment of pride or a thought of pride is the fact that we were the team that created the Hawthorne Softball League, the Hawthorne Men's Softball League. It might have been, Hook might have been the other team. because we had to play with somebody, so we needed a Washington Generals to play, and they qualified. But I'm proud of the fact that we started the Hawthorne Men's Softball League, and I think they're still going strong. I don't know for sure, but I think they are. And I was really happy to be a part of it.
The 1992 Sports World saw the Washington Redskins defeat the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. The Toronto Blue Jays won their first World Series, defeating the Atlanta Braves. And the Softball Action Committee once again decided another sponsor was needed, and Dilliston Lumber was dropped, and the team was now called Diamond Pub. The 1992 season for Diamond Pub did not go well, as they finished a dismal 7-11. However, bright spot Mike Miniacci was named Most Valuable Player and Comeback Player of the Year. Chip Dinelli won his 4th Gold Glove. Tom Brophy won his 3rd straight Cy Young Award and 4th overall. And Dee Woolsey, who had a total of 3 at-bats, won Rookie of the Year. On January 20th, 1993, Bill Clinton was inaugurated as the 42nd President of the United States. In sports, the Dallas Cowboys overwhelmed the Buffalo Bills 52-17 to win the Super Bowl. The Toronto Blue Jays won back-to-back World Series by defeating the Philadelphia Phillies in 6 games. And Diamond Pub went from bad to worse and finished another non-playoff season going 6-12. The Softball Action Committee was considering cutting ties with the team since they were hemorrhaging money and with all the poor play the last couple of seasons. The team's fate would be decided after the award ceremony in November. At the award ceremony, the team's fate was uncertain. However, Mike Miniacci was rewarded for his outstanding season by winning the MVP and Gold Glove. Tom Brophy won another Cy Young Award, and C. Vitaletti was Rookie of the Year, despite hitting a very modest .275. Within 48 hours after the award ceremony concluded, the Softball Action Committee disbanded the team, and just like that, it was over. After 20 years, after so much softball, and in general, one continuous party, it was the end of an era. After the Softball Action Committee disbanded Diamond Pub, most of the players stopped playing. However, a handful continued on in various leagues, some even trying their hand at baseball. As the years went by, the team reunions provided a chance to turn back the clock and reminisce, telling the same stories over and over, but somehow each time embellishing the story a bit more. It was a different time, a better time, a time spent with young men that had no room for political correctness, calling each other by the bizarre nicknames they gave each other. They told it like it was. So the reunions allowed these men to go back to that better place a few hours a night every couple of years. It's a shame we can't go back there now and stay there forever. When I look back at the whole thing, the Hawthorne League, Halden, the Wizards in Ridgewood, going to Puerto Rico,
playing against some of these crazy teams like Hook Supply, you know, the playoff games, not winning a championship, managing the team. When I think back at it all, the thing that I miss the most is just hanging out and being with the guys every Sunday. That's the thing that I think about and miss the most.
Summer in the city, back of my neck getting dirt and gritty. Bend down, isn't it a pity? Doesn't seem to be a shadow in the city. All around, people looking half dead, walking on the sidewalk harder than a match here. But at night it's a different world. Go out and find a girl. Come on and dance all night. Despite the heat, it'll be alright. And babe, don't you know it's a pity the days can't be like the nights in the summer, in the city, in the summer, in the city. Cool town, meeting in the city, dressed so fine and looking so pretty. Cool cat, looking for a kitty, gonna look in every corner of the city. Till I'm wheezing like a bus stop, running up the stairs, gonna meet you on the rooftop. But at night it's a different world. Go out and find a girl. Come on and dance all night. Despite the heat, it'll be alright. And babe, don't you know it's a pity the days can't be like the nights in the summer, in the city, in the summer, in the city. Dirt and gritty, been down, isn't it a pity? Doesn't seem to be a shadow in the city. All around, people looking half dead, walking on the sidewalk harder than a match head. But tonight it's a different world. Go out and find a girl. Come on and dance all night. Despite the heat, it'll be alright. And babe, don't you know it's a pity the days can't be like the nights in the summer, in the city, summer, in the city.